Hi, welcome back. We've had a guest join us while you were gone. Singer occasionally comes in and visits just a little bit. But welcome back to BRMC's Healthy Connection. We've been talking about Alzheimer's Arkansas, Stephanie Hull, here from Little Rock, Nancy Svella from the Mruk Family Center on Aging. And we were talking about, now, the new support group that, Nancy, that you're hosting here is this coming Friday?
Actually, it's our caregiver support group is this Friday.
This Friday, okay.
And then next Friday, the third Friday of the month, we are starting a caregiver, it's a program for those who have dementia or Alzheimer's disease in early stages.
That's a point that you just bring up, and the way you've both said it this afternoon. I think people sometimes don't realize how many dementias there really are, and it's abundant. I mean, there are many different types of dementia. It's not always Alzheimer's. Right. So the symptomology is always going to be very different for these dementias in many ways. So
there's go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
There's similarities in most of them. The behaviors are going to be basically the same. Not everybody's going to do all of the behaviors that we look for, but it just depends on what the underlying cause is. There are about 100 things that can cause the dementia symptoms to occur. 80% of those are reversible. And the 20% is where the Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, dementia associated with Parkinson's disease, Pick's disease, Lewy body dementia, those kinds of things fall into that 20% that are not reversible. And so we always encourage families to go and get their folks checked out, because it could be something, you know, their thyroid could be high or low, and those things can be corrected.
I know, I mean, I'm just thinking back to years in California and working with Alzheimer's folks there. Things such as not drinking enough water and dehydration is very similar to someone that you may think they're drunk, or you may think that because of their age that there's some sort of dementia going on, when in fact it's physical, can be cured and by rehydrating the person and making sure their medications are correct and that kind of thing. So,
and the medications interacting together can be a huge issue when you've got older folks that are on so many medications. If they're not, if all the doctors are not, you know, coordinating together. Pharmacists, if they're using multiple pharmacies, we've had that happen. And
another common disease is a urinary tract infection. That is a very common thing in an older adult that will cause confusion. And so that's why, like Stephanie said, it's so important to get that good workup, since 80% are reversible.
Get a good checkup. So that's, I think I'll speak today to the adult children. If you're coming for a visit, or you get a chance to be with mom or dad and you notice that something just isn't right, start first, ladies, would be the first place would be get a good physical. Have them check the medications, make sure that those are interacting correctly, make sure there's not some sort of infection going on, like a urinary tract infection, that especially the warmer weather coming, that they're hydrated, well hydrated. So,
and when the family visits, they need to ask questions about, you know, Dad, how was your day yesterday? Tell me what you did yesterday. Or, you know, don't talk about things from their childhood, because that long-term memory is there, and they're really good at answering those questions or talking about past things. But it's like you might ask and say, oh, how did your doctor appointment go yesterday, if you knew they went, and they're probably not going to remember that they went. And so it takes a little bit of seeking to really see what's going on.
Good point, Nancy. Very good point. That long-term is there. That I've seen in action. When you said that, I was thinking of, I'll just go ahead and put it out there. It was Dennis Hopper's mom, the movie star, and she was in a community where I was working, and could not have told you what she had for breakfast, for instance. But she used to play the piano for silent movie films.
Oh my goodness.
She would sit down at a piano, and it was like, oh my goodness, she had a concert going.
Those things are some of the last.
So the long term was wonderful. So
oh, that's neat.
So a lot of interesting things going on with someone who has a very sad disease. I think that the lifespan from diagnosis, which you'd said could take 3 to 5 years to even diagnose correctly. Life expectancy from that point on.
We've had folks 18 years.
Really?
I mean, that's not necessarily the typical, but I mean, you know, depending on their other physical health issues. If they're healthy otherwise, I mean, in the
And
usually
usually it
are.
spans from 3 to 20 years, just depending at what point they're diagnosed.
Right.
And again, I think a lot of that is denial. We overlook a lot of things
Yeah.
until it becomes prevalent.
Yep.
So,
And so many, as you said, so many caregivers just sort of pick up the slack
Right.
and start compensating for their loved one, their spouse,
Right.
and I know there hard choices that need to be made, perhaps as the disease progresses someplace down the line, especially when wandering becomes an issue. And there's nothing more frightening. I've been involved with that as well.
Yeah, it's very scary.
If someone wanders away, and
One of the greatest things that folks can do, not everyone's going to wander. A large portion of patients do. Of course, making sure that they've got identification on them in however manner you can get it on them. Laundry pin in every little piece of clothing, inside the shoes.
well, those are great ideas.
Those kinds of things. There's ways to get identification bracelets on them. In counties where Project Lifesaver is in place, that's a great program to be involved with. Average search time for that's about 30 minutes. There's different things that can be done to help keep them as safe as possible. We've had people install home alarm systems, but you can also get the little adhesive pieces at like Walgreens or Walmart that you can just stick to the doors and windows. That'll help at least let you know a door or a window
has been opened.
Windows have been used,
Yeah.
to go in
Sure.
and out, so you at least know they've been opened,
Right.
2 o'clock in the morning while they're up wandering around. But there are things that can be done to help keep them safe if that is an issue.
well, and they have, like, in the middle of the night, you can get bed alarms. They say that if you'll place, like, a black doormat in front
Yes.
of the door, that a person with Alzheimer's disease, they lose their depth perception, and they'll think it's a hole, so they won't cross it. And I tell you, I think sometimes the baby sections
Yes.
at the store,
Baby
you can
monitors
go
and
in
things
and
like
have
that.
the little doorknob covers, and they just can't figure out how to work those anymore. And so there's a lot of little
Right.
neat things that, or even sometimes just putting a latch up at the top
Right.
of the door, they don't think to look up. And so,
Disguising the
yeah.
doorknob. A lot of times, if you disguise the door, and there are panels that you can put up that looks like a kitchen pantry or a bookshelf, hanging even just a hand towel over the doorknob. If they can't
Right.
tell it's a door, then they'll just keep looking for one. You can get them distracted and off onto something else.
Right.
A lot of good ideas there.
I know that now people coming to the class, then, Nancy, that you host, this will be the type of thing the caregivers come away with on some tips, perhaps, on
maybe
keeping someone safe at home.
Definitely. And I know, like, the Alzheimer's, the caregiver support group, I always say sometimes they learn more from each other.
Oh, definitely.
Because they'll, someone will have a situation and another person will say, oh, my spouse went through that, and this worked really well for me, or I tried this.
Sharing, yeah.
And so they'll leave with different ideas to try, and often they'll come back the next time and say, that really did work very well for me.
Right.
And so we do learn a lot from each other and from those going through that experience. But one of the goals with the early memory disorder group is to let them leave with tips to help them function, and also tips for the spouse how to help them in certain situations. So.
Well, good ideas. Good ideas. And the one that you mentioned about putting the black mat in front of the door, and I can remember making sure that any of the staff that was helping with our Alzheimer's folks that we were responsible for, that they would turn the white plate because folks would only because of the is it depth perception, the loss of depth perception, never saw the food on this side of the plate.
Right.
When you turned it around, there was the
and
meal.
using plates that are different than the
Colors
food,
versus-
that are solid, instead
yes.
of having all the little patterns and things, because they'll try and pick the patterns instead of the food.
There's
lots
really
of
a
little
lot
tricks.
of tips there, isn't there?
There is, and it's so the significance of the support groups. The most important thing, if we can tell a caller nothing else, is to get involved with the support group for that very reason. They don't have to reinvent the wheel every time something happens.
Right.
They can leave out with 5 things to try, and one may not work this day, but it may work tomorrow. But this other one works today. So they don't have to just start from scratch.
And I think one of the biggest thing is, I want people to know that it's okay, because so often people become so isolated when their spouse has Alzheimer's or dementia, And you know, that's the time they need to reach out,
right.
and they need to keep people in their lives, and they need to seek that support. And families and friends need to continue to be involved in their lives. And you know, I always say, if you have a friend whose spouse has Alzheimer's disease, if you can just go sit at the house for a couple hours, maybe the spouse would just like to take an uninterrupted nap, you know, or go get her hair done, you know. So too often they become isolated, and we're trying to take that stigma away. We want people to be aware that it's there and it's a disease, and that's okay, and we need to find ways to work with it.
Too many times people's families, friends disappear because they don't know what to say or do or how to help. And it's okay if you don't know what to say or do. They'll let you know.
Right.
You know, the families may not ask for help, but if you just go hijack them, sometimes it's the best way to do it. We're going to come do this for you.
Yeah, and that's why it's wonderful that the resources are here in our community to help people, the caregiver and their friends, so that they all in turn can help those that have been
I'd just like to mention that they have a great website, and you might want to tell them about it. But they have a lot of just information on there. I mean, we have great information packets at our center, which has information from Alzheimer's Arkansas and different entities. But I've gone on their website many times, and it'll talk about a specific behavior and you know what causes it, what you can do for it. So you might want to give that website out.
We'll do that. It's www.alz, as in zebra, ark.org. And you can always call the office. Numbers and things are on there, and we tailor information to each specific situation. I mean, we have little general packets, but then we tailor to what they need.
Right, because as you said, this is a very individual disease. So, ladies, I want to thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having
Thank you.
Sharing all this wonderful information, letting people know that it's not the end of the world when you hear that your loved one is diagnosed with dementia, Alzheimer's in particular. There are resources available. There is help available. Please take advantage of it. Visit the Mruk Family Center on Aging. Nancy's wonderful group of volunteers there have all sorts of information. The center is across from Baxter Regional Medical Center, open 9 to 4, Monday through Friday. All free.
Yes.
It's all free information.
And you know, and if they can't get out to the center, I'm happy to mail a packet of information to them.
Just call.
Yes.
What's the number they should call you,
It's
Nancy?
870-508-3880.
3880.
Yes.
Okay. And Stephanie Hall,
Yes.
Alzheimer's Arkansas, thank you so much taking the time, coming up from Little Rock and sharing all this wonderful information with us today. Thanks so much for being here. Join us again next week for BRMC's Healthy Connection. We look forward to seeing you then.